I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Cunningham Township Board for Monday, October 11th, 2021. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Miss Wu,
Here.
Mr. Evans, Miss Hersey,
Here.
Miss Colasetti,
Here.
Miss Bishop,
Here.
Miss Wilkin,
Here.
Mr. Quisenberry,
Here.
Mayor Marlin,
Here.
Miss Shenoweth,
Present.
Mr. Williams.
Here.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes from several meetings, and I'll read them. It's April 12th, 2021, June 14th, 2021 special meeting, June 21st, 2021 public hearing and special meeting, July 12th, 2021, August 9th, 2021 public hearing and meeting, and September 13th, 2021. Could I have a motion for approval?
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Moved by Mary Alice, seconded by Sharice. Any discussion? Grace?
Thank you. Can we go through these one by one? Would that make more sense? Because I do have a few on almost all of them, I think.
Sure. April 12th, anything for that one?
Oops, mine got out of order. I thought I was in order.
Could I ask a question? Did you find it? I was going to ask if I could ask a question while you were looking. Is it okay if I jump in for a sec?
Yes, please.
I'm a little unclear on this because this was before many of us were seated. So I'm wondering a little bit about the process, because I will say, at least for myself, that I haven't had a chance to go back and rewatch that meeting and don't feel comfortable voting on it since I wasn't present without reviewing that. Is like, what would be the best process for those of us who might feel that way?
I'd have to defer to Phyllis on that one.
It's actually up to you whether you want to vote on those or not. You can abstain from the ones that you don't feel comfortable making a choice over. But the information that is in the minutes that you have before you that you've seen is exactly what went on in the meeting. The only thing that's different is that we did not do verbatim, which means every word. So we just kind of summarized the things that was said. So, but you can vote for it or against it or say nothing.
Okay, thank you.
And that would affect the April 12th meeting. The other meetings were after you were seated.
Yes.
Okay. Grace, did you have individual comments?
Yes. So sorry, I found my April one. I don't have comments on that besides this meeting. That's been a while and I wasn't there, so I may abstain from that one as well. I did have one on June 14th if no one had anything else for the April 12th meeting.
Okay, go ahead.
June 14th, public input says see attachments, but I didn't see any on this one. For public input, submitted input via email, but I don't see that attached to this.
We didn't attach it, but we do have it with the minutes that'll be approved for the file. And after the minutes are approved, then whatever the attachment was will be attached to it on the website.
Okay, so attachments are typically not there, but they'll be there in the approved final version.
After the minutes are approved, then when we put them up there, then they will be, everything will be with it that's supposed to be.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had for June 14th. June 21st, I didn't have anything. Someone else did. July 12th, I do a few things. Second page at the top, kind of second sentence, full real sentence. I didn't know if that was supposed to be LIHEAP. Is that acronym on the first line?
Yes.
So just that one letter there to make it LIHEAP. And then small things, I don't know if it matters, but on section E, petitions and communications, I'd say 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth line. Fifth line.
That's on what set of minutes is that on? Grace? Which ones are you talking about now?
July 12th.
On the 12th still?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on the second page, section E, petitions and communications. The comment from Angie W, the fifth line down, just a small thing, maybe changing residents was to residents were given until August 15th. And then I don't know if it matters, but I'd maybe put a period at the end of that paragraph on disjointed instead of a comma, if it looks like the rest of them were like that. And then a few others down the second to last paragraph, the last line, just again, small thing, but said it could take up to a month or a month and a half. I think it was probably a month and a half. And then the last line of that same second page says that to approve they're eligible for participation, but maybe change the other there or their eligibility. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone else, but I think maybe keep the there and change eligibility, or change the other there as in they are eligible. A few more small things on the third page, the third paragraph, fifth line down, maybe just add an S on continue. McKinley Vento continues to move from house to house. And then there's in the middle of the paragraph, there's a random we that's like the E's capitalized too. I don't know if that matters. And then the 7th paragraph, the last line, last sentence, says to qualify for vouchers, you have to in a shelter. You have to be in a shelter. Also, paragraph. Oh,
Go ahead.
The 11th paragraph, the last sentence, brief discussing ensued. The other ones say discussion, so maybe it would be consistent to say brief discussion ensued. And then the second to last paragraph, same third page, Ms. Chenoweth said the hotel program qualify as shelter, probably qualifies as shelter. Okay, fourth page, yeah, first paragraph, probably the program is exceptional and is one of the best things that the township has implemented, probably one of the best things that the township's implemented. And then I was just a little confused on the wording on that second paragraph where it says CM Wilkin asked about the emergency housing situation and understand that the hotel stays play an integral part for now. I didn't really understand that part. Maybe like with the understanding would maybe make more sense. I'm not really sure.
Probably understands that the hotel stays.
Okay, that would make sense. Just add an S to that then. And then the 4th paragraph, 3rd line says contact the township supervisor and she will work together with them. Probably just take out the two, just work together with them. That's all I had for that one.
Okay, thank you.
Unless anyone else did, I didn't have anything else, comments for August 9th. I don't for the public hearing. I do have comments for the meeting on August 9th. On the agenda, additions to the agenda, section 3, first page, additions to the agenda. says Supervisor Chenoweth asked to remove item B regarding the budget be removed from the agenda until next month. So I would suggest that we just say Supervisor Danielle Chenoweth asked that the item B regarding the budget be moved to the agenda until next month. That was all I had for that one. And then September 13th, it says that it's a regular meeting a few times in here, and then roll call says that Chair Marlin called the special meeting to order on roll call, and it looks like everywhere else it says it was a regular meeting. And then on the second page under new business, there's the resolution number, but there's not the title. I didn't look up to remember what that full title was, but I imagine that it had one. And then under that same new business, the fourth line down of the body of it says CM Grace. And I think it would make sense to just change it to CM Wilkin, since the other ones are all referred by last name. And that's all I have. Thank you.
James.
Yeah, can I move to divide the question to separate April 12th from the rest of them?
You want to take each one individually?
No, I just want to separate April 12th from the others that we were most of us were present for.
Okay. Any other corrections?
Probably need a second for that, and we need to vote since it was already a motion on the floor.
I would second that.
Okay, moved by James, seconded by Jaya to divide the question.
And it sounds like the severe thunderstorm is coming on, so let's be prepared for any minor interruption we might have.
Be prepared to take shelter if necessary. All right, we have a motion on the floor to divide the question. Do we need to vote on that, Phyllis?
Not really, just to divide the question, because you all have already stated you wasn't at this particular meeting, so we can go ahead on and vote on the other things.
So we will need the roll call vote on the minutes from the April 12th, 2021 meeting.
The motion needs to also state with the corrections on those minutes, okay?
You want to restate the motion, Mary Alice? As
I move that the minutes from April, was it April 12th?
Yeah.
April 12th be approved. And I don't believe that there's any corrections for those.
No corrections on that one.
Were you not separating that one out?
We're separating that one out. So I just was going to move for that specific one. Is that okay?
Yeah, you can.
Second.
Okay. All right. Will the clerk please call the roll for the minutes of the April 12th meeting?
Okay, Ms. Wu,
Yes.
Mr. Evans,
Yes.
Ms. Hersey,
Yes.
Ms. Colasetti,
Present.
Ms. Bishop.
Is it present or abstain? I'll abstain.
Okay,
Oh, sorry, I may have made the wrong motion.
okay, I'll put you down as an absent.
Yes, I will abstain. I apologize.
All right. Ms. Wilkin,
Abstain.
Mr. Quisenberry,
Abstain.
okay.
Okay, there's 3 yeses, 4 abstains.
Mhm.
It will go on the record as that, correct?
Yes, it will.
Okay. All right, now we'll move on to items June 14th, 2021, June 21st, 2021, public hearing and special meeting as corrected, July 12th, 2021, August 9th, 2021, and September 13th, 2021.
I'll move approval with the stated corrections by Councilmember Wilkin.
Second.
Who was the second, Jaya?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Wu,
Yes.
Mr. Evans,
Yes.
Ms. Hersey,
Yes.
Ms. Colacetti,
Yes.
Ms. Bishop,
Yes.
Ms. Wilkin,
Yes.
Mr. Quisenberry.
Yes.
That motion passes. Thank you. We'll move on to any additions to the agenda. Chandra, I'm sorry, Chandra.
Well, I just had a quick question about all these minutes. And so what was the reason for the backup? Was it just because the clerk's office was short during
Yes,
that time?
yes,
Okay.
that's what it was.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And now that these are approved, they will be posted to the website.
Yes, they will.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, any additions to the agenda? All right. We'll move on to public participation. C. Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so it was asking me to join as a panelist for a moment there. This is Christopher Hansen. The confusion that we saw tonight is the reason that the Open Meetings Act requires you to approve and post these meetings much sooner than you actually did. In the case of the township, the law says that you need to approve them either within 30 days or at your second subsequent meeting. So at the township, that would usually be within 60 days. So approving meeting minutes 6 months later is not acceptable. There's no real excuse for this. I mean, it's really silly to cite staffing or something like that. I mean, this is the city clerk's primary job description. I don't know why you couldn't just get it done. And it seems the only reason it was getting done is because I filed a complaint with the Illinois Attorney General a little more than a month ago. And all of a sudden, all of the Urbana City Council and the township minutes started to get approved and posted. So even in the cases when you were approving the minutes, you weren't posting them. The law says that if you're a public body and you have a website that is run by your full-time staff, then you have to post those minutes within 10 days of approving them. And you do have full-time staff that manage your website. So you do need to get that done. And I just hope you'll keep in mind as you, as a council, as a township, as you move forward to contemplate future legislation and say future tools that you choose to provide to your employees and staff, such as the police department, that you'll remember your own ability to comply with the rules that are placed upon you as a body. So it might be worth reflecting upon that when you go forward and talk about things like, say, I know I'm addressing the township, but say this ALPR program. If you're going to come up with policies and place those upon yourselves, you need to ask yourself, is the township capable of actually complying with policy? And in the case of these meeting minutes in the Open Meetings Act, the answer is absolutely not. You're really, really bad at it. So the minutes are important. I know the videos of meetings are posted, but the minutes are important because that's your actual legal stamped written record of the actions of the public body. You need to post those. I showed you an example where the city clerk just invented a vote, just fabricated a vote at a city council meeting. And that only showed up in the minutes. So you do need to post those so the public can scrutinize them. And I hope you as a council will also scrutinize them as you did some tonight. And I hope the clerk will actually put some effort into, producing something that's that is worth the public deserves. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, next up, Bishop Underwood. Go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. I'm on Bishop's phone because it wouldn't work on my phone.
Understood.
And I just put my hands up here to talk later. I didn't know I was going to be called on. That's a miracle because I had 3 phones last week and I was not called on. So I'm going to lower my hand and try to make this work during city council meeting. Thank you.
We'll look for you then. Thank you. Okay, I think that is all the hands that I see raised for public participation for town board. I do have a request from Supervisor Chenoweth to change the agenda order to, she would like to ask for new business to be moved before the committee to verify bills. Is there a motion to make that change?
I move to move new business before committee to verify bills.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, moved by Chandra, seconded by James. Could the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Wu,
Yes.
Mr. Evans,
Yes.
Ms. Hersey,
Yes.
Ms. Colasetti,
Yes.
Ms. Bishop,
Yes.
Ms. Wilkin,
Yes.
Mr. Quisenberry.
Yes.
That motion passes. Go ahead, Danielle.
Thank you. Thanks for making that change. I have several guests that if UPTV, I don't know if Jason or Ibrahim is working this evening, but the attendees that need to be able to speak during this meeting from my side is Emily McCowan, Solange Leon Vasconez, excuse me, Solange, and Tracy Barkley, and that Nicole Filia is going to be supporting the financial report as our new accounting and office manager. So the item before you, there's 2 items before you for new business. A resolution authorizing me to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Channing Murray Foundation for the Bucket Brigade food delivery and Neighbors Helping Neighbors volunteer coordination. And then a similar resolution with a memorandum of understanding with Sola Gracia Farms to coordinate the Solidarity Gardens program. So I want to invite, I'm going to say a few words about each of those items. And then essentially if Emily, who I know is hosting the Hoot Nanny at Rose Bowl tonight and is time constrained, if you have any questions for the Channing Murray Foundation, if you could, actually, I guess I'll just take Channing Murray first so that she can leave. And then we can talk a little bit about the Sola Gracia. So essentially just the background, as you recall, the township has a long history of providing social service grants to agencies in the community. When I became supervisor, I audited those grants. And I found that the design that we had for the grants program was not necessarily meeting the needs of the township and was not targeting funds towards township residents. And there were other issues that I raised in the budget in detail in this year's budget when I explained that we are going to move from a grants program to a fee-for-service or contracts program. So essentially what you can anticipate is over the course of the year, as we partner with various organizations specifically to extend the services of township to Urbana residents who are low income in our community, I'm going to be bringing memoranda of understanding to you for your approval. So essentially, instead of those contracts kind of coming all at once, as we launch or renew those relationships, I'll be bringing those to you. So these are the first two. We do have $100,000 set aside in the budget. And I just want to say my guess, based on the demand for our programs, is that we will probably need to reallocate some of those dollars to existing township programs. But that is yet to be seen. You can see that in the financial report. We've been under on administrative costs, but program costs have been strong. So essentially, the first item is with the Channing Murray Foundation. I think that you are no stranger to the Bucket Brigade, which we launched during COVID. It was something where Emily, who is the executive director of the Channing Murray Foundation, and had been a township intern who had launched our garden project. And so we have been coordinating with Emily for a number of years on issues of food insecurity. And so I reached out to her proactively to say, what can we do given that the wheelhouse of the Channing Murray Foundation is food justice, with the Red Herring Coffee House as a nonprofit located there. And we devised a design that called the Bucket Brigade, that really the Channing Murray Foundation has led and implemented throughout this past year and a half. It was originally, so as of, we made our first delivery March 25th, and our volunteer brigade that is entirely coordinated by the Channing Murray Foundation has made 1,543 deliveries to 4,532 people. Of those, about 1,800 of them are children. So the Bucket Brigade has really grown immensely during this time. It's played a very key role during the pandemic. And although the pandemic is not over, we're always, we are looking to the end, but it is not here yet. It's also the case that we discovered during this process that there are many residents in our community where driving or taking a bus to a food pantry and picking up food items that are supposed to last for 2 weeks, so is difficult. People with disabilities, folks who carrying that load with children on the bus does not work for them. We've really found that a home delivery service has served a lot of our township participants. During the pandemic, we funded the Bucket Brigade through private donations, which were voluminous and very generous, and we served the entire community. What we did is we then pulled back and began to really fund, just in this fiscal year, just Urbana residents. So essentially, we had a contract with Channing Murray Foundation last year to do the Bucket Brigade as a social service grant. So essentially, we started as private donations. We used a social service grant to fund the food pantry items, which are donated by St. Vincent de Paul. So we really appreciate that partnership. And then the hot meals were and will continue to be completely funded through private donations. So essentially what is before you this evening is a fee-for-service contract, memorandum of understanding with the Channing Murray Foundation that essentially outlines two programs: the Bucket Brigade, which would continue to serve, we would fund Urbana residents and residents with children in Urbana schools, that's kind of our purview for our emergency housing program. We would continue to fund that through this on a per bucket basis. So we just pay per bucket, per delivery. If there are fewer deliveries, we would pay less, and we would have a cap. So the cap would not exceed $10,700 per year. And that is, we think that will be the cost given the current rate that we see of deliveries. The second is a program that I approached the Channing Murray Foundation about sponsoring and supporting, which is the Neighbors Helping Neighbors program. This program was actually operated out of the township Before we hit the pandemic, we coordinated volunteers to do a whole host of items for township participants and for the administration of our programs. We can no longer, due to capacity concerns and space concerns and COVID safety concerns, coordinate volunteers directly. So we do have an intern program that is smaller. But Channing Murray Foundation, even before this contract started, has essentially been coordinating volunteers on a very low duty level. They helped to significantly coordinate the opening of the emergency housing program. They recruited volunteers. They connected us with donations. They organized all of the deliveries of the furniture, pickup and deliveries of the furniture and the placement, and they helped with cleaning and prep. So out of that experience, we've requested that they essentially support the township in continuing to coordinate volunteers for emergency housing program, and that they would also support our transitions in and out of the emergency housing program, and that they would support up to 4 events per year. Our first event is scheduled for August 23rd, and it will be a harvest event, hopefully with a vaccine clinic associated with it. And then we will do a coat drive with a coat giveaway, which was coordinated by Channing Murray Foundation last year. They were overwhelmed, honestly. There was so much demand and so many coats that it's not possible to do it on an all volunteer basis. This year, we've needed the support of a program coordinator. So the Neighbors Helping Neighbors program would essentially pay for a portion of a program director who would coordinate volunteers at the Channing Murray Foundation and take the burden off of township for that. And I wanted to invite Emily to speak if she'd like to add anything to the resolution before you.
Thank you, Danielle. It's been such a privilege to work with the township. I think this is really such a beautiful way to show up for our community. I think, as you said, we've seen that there's all these barriers that folks are faced with in order to get food access to go to the food pantry, and we've found that getting the volunteer power to bring the food to doorsteps is really that extra piece to show our neighbors that we're here to support them and make them feel like they are people with worth and dignity. And we're just so pleased to continue this program and grow Neighbors Helping Neighbors. Yeah. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions for Emily or myself?
Okay, go. Oh, Chandra and then Mary Alice.
I don't have any questions, but I love this program. I'm so glad it's continuing. So thank you both for your work in this.
You're most welcome.
Mary Alice.
My question had more to do with the MOU. Is it appropriate to ask that question now or when this comes up for discussion with the resolution?
You can ask a technical question now, and then discussion would be after we have a motion in a second. So if there's a question about the resolution itself.
Yeah, there's a question with the MOU.
Yeah.
So in the MOU, it states that this is going to be up to, I think, 2025, where it can be renewed. 2025, where it can be renewed. And the MOU is subject to the annual board approval of the budget. I would rather see this be something separate from the budget, because oftentimes things going through the budget is arduous enough than us trying to pick out certain programs from it. So, I mean, my best guess is there's a strong support from the township for this type of program, but I think it would be helpful for us as we look at programs every year if we have a separate item outside of the budget. So that would be what I would like to suggest. I don't know if that's a technical question or not. So.
Just two responses. First, I just wanted to flag before you make the motion that the resolution itself has the wrong dollar figure and it should be 17,900. Not sure exactly how that happened, but so when you make the motion, if you could make the motion with the resolution saying 17,900. And then the second, to answer your question, Marielle, is there's two ways to do this. I was trying to figure out what's the lightest lift. You can either, as a board, make the decision during the budget process, or you can annually approve an MOU with Channing Murray Foundation. And honestly, I went back and forth about either. I was just trying to figure out like what's the easiest approach. So I would say I see them as equivalent. If you would like to change it so that it's annual approval of the MOU, and then the budget is just one line item that is our fee for service, that's fine. I mean, it's, you know, it's, what is it? A dozen one way, 12 the other. So,
Yeah,
so
I would prefer that if the town, I mean, but we can include that with the motion at that time.
that's fine. Yeah,
Okay.
it basically, it will come back to you each year, and no resolution, no MOU or contract that I sign can go past my term. So that's why the 2025.
And just to
Right, thank you.
confirm, instead of the 12,800, it's 17,900. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So you'll see just it's broken up in MOU. It's 10.7. So it's 10.7K for Bucket Brigade and 7.2K for Neighbors Helping Neighbors. And you can see it's broken down by per bucket cost. That's a not to exceed number.
Gotcha. Okay. Any other questions for Danielle? Grace?
Sorry, I couldn't slide over to mute fast enough. Yeah, that was my question. So you're saying in the resolution, it's 17,900 on the therefore part of the resolution. Is that right?
Yes.
That's the corrected amount.
Yep.
And then I have a few comments I'll save. Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, could we get a motion, please?
I'll move approval of resolution number T 2021-010-012R, resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Channing Murray Foundation for the Bucket Brigade food delivery and Neighbors Helping Neighbors volunteer coordination, with two changes: one in the total amount of 17,900, and the second one in the MOU to remove annually approved at the budget and just say annually reviewed by the Township Board.
I'll second that.
Okay, the town board. Any discussion? Oh, and it was seconded by Chandra. Discussion. Sharice?
I guess I'm a little bit confused because I'm looking, Danielle, for where you say the 17,000, is that under financial support? The CTSO will reimburse CMF?
Yeah, so if you look at, let me tell you what page it's on. If you look at page 2, excuse me, page 2, 3. Okay, so roles and responsibilities of Cunningham Township Supervisor's Office. So it'd be page 4. On page 4, you will see financial support under Bucket Brigade. And it says $15 per household delivery of grocery and specialty items, and then $20 for any emergency bags requested outside of regular delivery window, which we regularly request these for emergency housing. And they usually include specialty and more expensive items. So that amount should not exceed a 10.7. And then Neighbors Helping Neighbors, you can see that we'll contribute $600 a month to cover the staffing costs of coordinating the volunteer program and Bucket Brigade. And that amount shall not exceed 7.2K. So together you get the 17.9K, 17,900.
And that is actually stated in the resolution itself under the now therefore be it resolved.
Okay,
Want to
that's,
change 12,800 to 17,900.
okay, that's what I was looking for.
That's
Thank
what you're
you.
approving. Okay.
Sure thing.
Any other comments? Grace?
Thanks. Okay, I say I'm not usually this English person, but it looks like there was a few spaces missing in the resolution, like the fourth whereas there's a space missing, I think, after with and then the numbers of deliveries. Also in the therefore, the last sentence, providing up to, now changed to $17,900 annually. I think it's probably space, and the board authorizes that.
Yeah, I would, it's up to you all, but I would consider our time is not best served talking about spaces. It's immaterial.
Any other comments? Okay. Would the clerk please call the roll? And you're voting on the resolution as corrected by Mary Alice in the motion.
Okay. Ms. Wu,
Yes.
Mr. Evans,
Yes.
Ms. Hersey,
Yes.
Ms. Colasetti, Ms. Colasetti,
Yes.
Mr. Quisenberry,
Yes.
Ms. Bishop,
Yes.
Ms. Wilkin.
Yes.
That motion passes. Next item is resolution number T 2021-010-013R.
Thank you. And I just want to thank Emily and Solange for attending our meeting. So you're welcome to jump off as you need to, because I know your event starts in 15. So Tracy Barkley is the executive director of Sola Gracia Farms farm. I looked it up recently. It's not farms, it's farm, but honestly, it's many farms because it's the Solidarity Gardens. And we've been partnering for a number of years. Sola Gracia Farms has been in the portfolio of Cunningham Township, helping to address food insecurity, which again is not really in the wheelhouse of Township, but is definitely a deeply felt need of our participants. So we're grateful for a long-standing partnership with Sola Gracia Farms. And when pandemic hit, we were extremely concerned that our participants would be the first ones to really experience food insecurity. As I've explained to the town board in the past, our participants regularly run out of food stamps in their third week of food stamps. And so we oftentimes receive requests in that last week. And we had partnered with, and we continue to partner with Empty Tomb, which does food referrals. But simply we were overwhelmed with referrals, and Empty Tomb was not able to address all of the needs. So that's why we've been reaching out to address these food insecurity issues with other partners. So at the beginning of the pandemic, we put our heads together with our partner, Sola Gracia Farm, and really designed this concept of Solidarity Gardens, where we would empower, we had folks at home quarantining with time on their hands, anxious, worried they're going to get COVID. We had the richest soil in the world, where you can spit a watermelon seed on the ground and it turns into watermelon. I know it's not that easy. Tracy will tell you because she runs a farm, but it is the case that I've had multiple squashes growing out of my compost pile and I have done nothing to them. And we have folks who are in dire need of food. And what we saw is fresh food and food chain interruptions early on and throughout the pandemic, including recently with continuous food chain interruptions, where you'll go and see that there's, no eggs that day, or there's missing items in the produce section. So we put our heads together. We joined forces with a number of groups. Urbana Park District generously donated plots of land that were underutilized. Sola Gracia Farms really brings to the table technical expertise in running a farm. They have provided us technical expertise with our gardens for years, and they have played a strong lead in coordination role in this last year, have played an administrative role in the Solidarity Gardens initiative, we played a fiscal sponsorship role and a program design and development role. So we would like to continue partnering in this successful collaboration. Last year, in the first season, which was 2020, we put approximately 1,000 square feet of community garden space under production. We distributed over 1,200 starts and packets of seeds to gardeners, and we grew approximately 600 pounds of produce to bring to families in need. We've certainly exceeded that poundage this year in 2021. So we have seen nothing but enthusiasm from our community in terms of growing food for their neighbors in need. We have heard so much positive feedback from the Bucket Brigade recipients. I don't know how many of you have been to a food pantry before, but in my experience and the experience of our participants, you oftentimes get canned goods and boxed goods, but you may not get fresh produce, eggs, milk, meats, cheeses. These are things that are hard to come by. So our Bucket Brigade is really dedicated to making sure that those fresh items are part of the brigade. And we have received very positive feedback about having greens and vegetables in the brigade, as well as we distribute that food through the feedings that Sola Gracia Farm has coordinated. So essentially what we've been doing, and I think we now have a greater understanding that when people are under stress, their immune systems are compromised, and the number one and two things that they need, essentially, in addition to reducing stress is fresh vegetables and sleep. So this does not address the sleep issue, but it does address the fresh veggies issue and the nutritional needs of folks. And I think it's a very important program that we continue to grow. Most recently, we've designed a mini grants program and an affiliates program so that gardens can officially be affiliates and they can access resources and many grants that are all privately funded. So these dollars will go to basically resourcing Sola Gracia Farms, to extend the services of Township, to coordinate Solidarity Gardens, which Township initiated but cannot continue to coordinate, nor is it really in our wheelhouse to kind of manage farms and provide that support. So Sola Gracia Farm has been a great partner, and I would, and this will essentially resource staff time to support to support the Solidarity Gardens initiative. And I would invite Tracy to add any aspects of the program that she would like to add before we discuss it with the town board.
Sure. Thank you so much, Danielle. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight. So two things I just want to make sure are clear to board members is, one, the program last year was made possible because there was fantastic coordination and collaboration between both Township, our farm, Park District, Urbana Free Library, and Channing Murray Foundation. But it grew to be so much more than I think we anticipated, which was awesome. We saw so many people gardening, so many square foot, so many yards being torn up and Park District land being turned into gardens. And that resulted in a lot of plant seeds going out and produce coming in. And so when we put our heads together this winter to talk about, how do we work with what we've started here and build on this awesome foundation and make it stronger and more sustainable, I think it really resulted in the need for really careful coordination so that we are making good use of everybody's time. And also, vegetables are perishable products, so we want to make sure that they're getting to the recipients as quickly as possible, which is where Sola is really powerful. We have Jubilee Cafe picking up from our farm on Mondays. We have the Carl Mobile Market picking up on Mondays. We donate to Daily Bread Soup Kitchen on Tuesdays. Wednesdays, the food bank comes and we send pallet of produce to them. Fridays, we run a free market over on Colorado Avenue in front of Sear Place and in front of Cornerstone Fellowship. So, and then on Saturdays, if produce is needed at the Learman Garden distribution, we can send produce there as well. So that's 5 days a week that we're getting produce out through our existing channels and relationships. And what happens is gardeners that are either gardening specifically for Solidarity Gardens and for helping their neighbors, or who just have an abundance in their own gardens and are not using enough on their own, they can bring it right to our farm which is conveniently located in Southeast Urbana. We have a cooler set up with a little flag system. People can drop off their produce there, put the flag up, and we immediately put it in a cooler and get it ready to go out the next day to one of our partnerships with the hunger abatement program. So it's a pretty slick operation, but it takes a lot of coordination, and that's where grant support funding from Township in this last year made that possible, and that's why we talked to Danielle about additional support, both for our staff and then to bring an additional part-time person on to really keep enhancing and building this program, because it's kind of the best matchmaking service our community has to offer right now, putting gardeners and resources like seeds and plants and technical support together with people that really need the food. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions about this program or resolution? Mary Alice.
Thank you, Tracy, for coming tonight and talking about your program. I think it's a great program. I was wondering if you had any estimate on the number of people that donate per year. You said people can drop off if they have additional harvest.
So I don't have that to my, so we usually calculate everything in pounds. So I know that so far this season, we have 1,500 pounds that have been donated just to our farm site. There's also a produce collection site at Channing Murray Foundation. So what happens with that produce is it gets incorporated into prepared meals that go out then through the bucket brigade. So I don't have numbers on that. I know we have 1,500 pounds that have been brought in, but I will tell you, working at the farm, we often have as many as 3 to 4 people dropping off produce per day. Like it's pretty busy, and it's a really awesome opportunity for us to see and thank everyone that's bringing produce by. And sometimes it's, a small bag of okra and tomatoes, and sometimes like there's products sitting outside of our very large cooler because people are doing a full scale harvest. I think it doesn't look like we're gonna have a frost anytime soon, so we still see harvest coming in. People are starting to close down their gardens, but I wouldn't be surprised if we break 2,000 pounds this year just through this program and our site alone. But we do have a little notebook, a little logbook that says who's bringing what and when. And so by the end of the season, when we do a wrap up, we'll have a better idea of how many people have been participating.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Grace.
Thank you. And so this one is also up to 12,800. Is that right? And is this a different amount of money than, I guess, obviously the Channing Murray one and the previous one? And is this also out of that same 100,000 already approved?
Yeah. So yes, and yes. So it's up to 12,800. These grants or these memorandum of understanding aren't a set amount. They're actually based on what the need is. And so we negotiate a budget. I go back and forth with the program. They submit a budget. In this case, they also submitted job descriptions. I was able to I talked with Tracy 3 or 4 times about the design of the program and what was needed. And then we essentially came up with this number that was that would support their outreach coordinator, as well as a person who's dedicated, who's part-time. This would be a new position dedicated to Solidarity Gardens. And you can see that essentially what is it? We have it listed in here. We expect that Solo Gracia will be providing approximately 15 hours a week from their education outreach coordinator. And actually they're funding half of that and we're funding half, and then 20 hours a week from a new staff member focused on supporting Solidarity Gardens. So that's how we got to that budget number.
And I was trying to understand your earlier comment too about grants versus fee for service. So is it correct that this was programs like this, or these programs would be something that the township would give a grant to that organization in partnership, and now they're charging like per bucket or per hour for services? Is that the correct understanding?
Correct. Yeah. So essentially what looked like a very hands-off grants program that, frankly, under my predecessor, I didn't see a lot of oversight in that grants process, is now a very hands-on, very deeply collaborative. And you can see in the MOU, it's, checking in once a month, reflections on the program, building program and continuous improvement. other program, and then we pay for the specific budget item. And we focus on Urbana residents. So for example, Solidarity Gardens supports the entire community, but we are basically funding and supporting the Urbana portion. And we do that, they've essentially given me a budget that is 5 times this. They pay for seeds, they pay for starts, a lot of the different items. And then we're paying a portion that we see as kind of proportional to the Urbana impact.
Mary Alice.
Sorry, I have one more question. So under the services, which is 2.1, there is 2.2, sorry. There's a mention of Douglas Park, and I thought Douglas Park was in Champaign. Am I incorrect on that?
Correct. Yeah. So no, Douglas Park is in Champaign, and this. So as I explained, that part of the education and outreach coordinator time is actually funded by Solidarity, by the Sola Gracia Farms. And what we did is that person basically oversees Meadowbrook and Douglas Park, and then supports Victory Park, our Garden, and Wood Street, and actually also Learman, although Learman is more independent, there's technical support provided to them as well. So Douglas Park is part, that garden is part of the Solidarity Gardens initiative. But essentially, we're funding the support for the Urbana Gardens, which is just a portion of the budget.
All right, and so in the actual resolution, there's not a dollar figure, so I think it might be appropriate to include the dollar figure of 12,800 in the now therefore section, just like we did in the previous one.
Yep, that makes sense.
We can just use the same language that wouldn't exceed that amount.
Correct, not to exceed $12,800.
I believe the other resolution says providing up to $12,800 annually. So.
Okay, making sure he says a hand up.
Sharice.
Yes, I guess what I want to ask, because nothing against Douglas Park, it's not far from my house, but there's also another garden that's close to my house that's on the corner of Hill and Romine, and I'm not sure what the name of that garden is. Is there any way that Sola Gracia could include that, because it's brand new? It's like just a couple of years old, and I think it's having a hard time getting started. I don't know if there's anything I can, if we can include that or make an amendment for it later on, or something like that.
Yeah, sure. Tracy, because there's a number of gardens not listed here that are being supported. So
that one actually is listed in the memorandum of understanding, because it's the Habitat for Humanity community garden, and it's in its 2nd year. Kim Gollins is the representative from Habitat for Humanity that's now joined Solidarity Gardens and regularly as part of our monthly calls. So we are working with Habitat for Humanity and supplying seeds, plants, some technical supports. So we are working together. It just takes some time to get community gardens off the ground. And especially, I think they're trying really hard to make sure that the garden was located on land and in a neighborhood where there have been many Habitat homes built and folks homed in those houses. And they're really trying to make sure that it is a true community garden with neighborhood buy-in, which sometimes takes some time and some coordination. So I see that getting better. And really one of the things about Solidarity Gardens is we are a network of support and resources. But I have to say there are a lot of community gardens that have been around a lot longer than Solidarity Gardens, Randolph Community Garden, Learman. And so we're trying to provide a network of supports, but also recognize that there are gardens that happen for different reasons with different participants, and timelines sometimes are different. So we're not in control of that garden, but are in support of Habitat for Humanity and what their efforts are there.
And just to clarify, any garden can become a Solidarity Gardens affiliate and get access to resources. They simply sign kind of an agreement that says what they will give and what they will get. And what they give essentially is that they agree to grow food for neighbors in need and to display a Solidarity Gardens yard sign. So it's very simple.
Okay, so are you saying that there has to be someone that's appointed to that runs that garden and to have some connection to any Sola Gratia support or township support?
So actually that garden is at all of our meetings, is represented at our meetings twice a month, and is very actively engaged in the program. What I'm explaining is that any garden, new gardens, old gardens, things we haven't heard about before, there's a very easy entry point, and anyone who essentially signs on and says, yes, I'm a Solidarity Garden, can get access to those resources. And we just kind of finished that. We've had an informal relationship, and we've kind of formalized that and made it clear how new gardens can access those resources.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have a question?
Grace has hand up.
Oh, sorry, it's comments. Are we at comments? Did we move?
No, we need a motion. Can we have a motion to get this on the table?
Yes, I would move resolution number T 2021-010-013R, resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign a memorandum of understanding with Sola Gratia Farms Solidarity Garden for approval.
And did you want to include the language related to providing up to $12,800 annually?
Yes, I did, with the additional language in the therefore of not to exceed $12,800 annually.
And I did note that on page 3, under number 4, the same language that you corrected in the last resolution, this MOU is subject to annual approval by the town board. Would you like to change the language to that to be consistent with your other resolution?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
I'll
Those
second.
two changes. All right, moved by Grace, seconded by Mary Alice. Discussion. James. You're muted.
Sorry, I'm going to have to abstain from this vote because I currently serve as president of the Church Council of St. Matthew Lutheran Church, which has a relationship with Sola Gratia in its instantiation. And so I cannot vote on this.
Thank you. Any other comments? Grace?
Mine was just a quick comment just to share my positive experience working with these guys with Sola Gratia and Solidarity Gardens and some of their support with First Followers Gardens and things. So just wanted to reiterate my experience with the ease and generosity and openness of working with these groups for any garden, even small, somewhat disorganized ones and things. They've been very supportive and generous with that. So I just wanted to share that piece.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Wu,
Yes.
Mr. Evans,
Yes.
Ms. Hersey,
Yes.
Ms. Colasetti,
Yes.
Mr. Quisenberry,
Abstain.
Ms. Wilkin,
Yes.
Ms. Bishop.
Yes.
That motion passes. And I will say, I'm glad James brought up St. Matthew's Church. We owe that church a debt of gratitude for their longstanding support and really helping initiate Sola Gratia and providing a home for Sola Gratia.
Absolutely. Plus one. It's a great, great community asset and resource that church has helped to foster.
All right, that takes care of our new business. Thank you to the guests for coming. We'll move on to the committee to verify bills. So this last month in the town fund, we had expenditures of $44,990.64.
In the general assistance fund, we had $84,130.39. Our total in expenditures from both funds was $129,121.03. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about it.
Mary Alice.
I have two questions. One might be answered in the supervisor updates. My first question is, there are under programs other, there's vaccination champagne for $3,050. I was wondering if you could describe that expense, what those were used for.
Yeah, so what we did is we have launched a vaccination campaign to provide $50 for any current general assistance participant who brings a valid complete vaccine card to our office, and also or brings like a transcript from Carl Hospital or OSF or Christie. So essentially what this does is we would like to get to the point where we can have safer face-to-face interaction with participants. We need to know people's vaccination status. To do that, we don't require it. So we are incentivizing that. And it also helps folks who may be on the fence. I provided we've actually messaged our participants multiple times about the safety and reliability of vaccines. Many of our participants are immune compromised or have disabilities that make them susceptible to death. We have lost participants to COVID-19. It has been a very sad year and a half for us to watch participants struggle, and we want them to be protected with every resource that is available at our disposal, and vaccines are an important part of that. So for just those current general assistance participants, I withdrew money, and we've been distributing those dollars to participants. And we're hoping that will help boost vaccination rates, because our vaccination rate amongst our participants is lower than the average rate in the community. And that is very alarming, because our participants' average age is in their late 40s. And again, they are particularly susceptible to contracting COVID-19 and having difficulties just due to their healthcare complications. So I'm proud of that and excited that we may be able to boost vaccination rates with that program.
So how many people have you had paid out for that incentive?
So we just launched the incentive on Tuesday, and so I don't have that data yet, but it should be in the next town board report. So they started receiving their letters Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and this report was produced on Wednesday.
So this is just in preparation for that?
Correct, yep.
Okay. And then my second question had to do with the code review done by Andrew Fell. And I said, if that's something that should wait, I was just wondering if there were items that were highlighted that Township is going to take care of on the California Street residents. But it can wait until the supervisor report. I just wanted to know a little bit more about that.
Yeah, sure. I wanted to state just, you'll see actually a donation made to the Angel Donor Fund that is equivalent to Andrew Fell's payment for architectural services. He donated back his entire fee to the Angel Donor Fund. And his fee was specifically so far for the special use permit process. So we worked with him during the special use permit process after the Plan Commission was present. After they took the vote, we secured his services. And he was, as you recall, he was present at the city council meeting to answer questions. So that fee was just for those hours, the sub hours.
Any other questions about Town Founder General Assistance Fund?
I think Grace has a hand up.
Grace, go ahead.
And so is this the whole report? Can we talk on this one?
I was going to wait to give the whole report with under reports for officers. So this is just the town bills. If you have any questions about expenditures from this last month, this would be a good time to ask them.
Okay.
Any questions? Okay, we'll need a motion to, I guess we'll need the General Assistance Fund report as well. All right, go ahead on the general assistance fund, Danielle, please.
Oh, in terms of, well, yeah, I was just going to handle it during the reports of officers.
Oh, okay, then I need a motion to approve the town fund and general assistance fund.
I move to approve the town fund and general assistance fund.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
James? Okay. Your hand is very blurry. It's part of the background. Moved by Chandra, seconded by James. Could the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Wu,
Yes.
Mr. Evans,
Yes.
Ms. Hersey,
Yes.
Ms. Colasetti,
Yes.
Mr. Quisenberry,
Yes.
Ms. Wilkin,
Yes.
Ms. Bishop.
Yes.
That motion passes. Okay, we'll move on to the reports of officers.
Okay, I think we just have this in the quarterly financial report, and I will be brief since I know we're at 7:40. So essentially, we continue to see general assistance participant roles drop. We have a very strong local economy for entry-level jobs right now. We're seeing a lot of folks getting work. So we do have a number of participants who have completed 2 months at Salt and Light and are eligible to start earning hours through educational and training goals. And we're launching that, and I will have more of an update in the future as we look to that. I wanted to just highlight a few things. You do have the supervisor's memo before you. We are back to providing transportation assistance now that MTD is no longer free. It's $60 a year, and we've done 30 annual bus passes. We also have been working hard to sign anyone with disabilities who's eligible for the free Dash Pass Hub. So 35 folks have signed up for Dash Passes, and that saved us quite a bit of money in our annual bus pass fees. So we've kind of streamlined that process. Rental assistance, we supported 6 up from 3 last year. Essentially, these are just COVID impacted or needing move-in assistance. We continue to support people applying for emergency rental assistance through our PC. We have definitely seen a spike in the ERA applications as the eviction moratorium ends, and we are processing those with all due speed. Just so you know, and this is different than anywhere else in the county, if you live in Urbana and you need to apply for rental assistance, you can apply directly to RPC, but I would encourage you to apply through Cunningham Township because we package, audit, and hand deliver the applications to RPC. So we do a lot of hand holding, make sure that everything looks good, and we will track success on those applications. You can call us anytime and we will contact RPC. RPC does not have a number to call, but we have a number to call. Our hours are posted on our website, on our front door, on the postcard that I sent to all participants. People can walk up. So so we really provide a service that is a deep service. And as a result, we've seen a much higher percentage of Urbana residents receive ERA than Champaign residents. That's unfortunate for Champaign, but it is something that we're providing Urbana residents. We definitely saw a very active, unfortunately active court day. The first court day since the eviction moratorium expired Monday, October 4th. There were 65 cases heard. 49 of them were first appearances. I think there were only about 10 who were actually qualified under the eviction moratorium. The rest were for other reasons. And we continue to have a staff person present at every eviction day in court, along with Land of Lincoln and RPC. And we do provide that direct hand holding for those who show up in person. There are the majority of folks not showing up in person. And so, and we do not have access to their addresses and contact information due to the eviction sealing. That said, we've mailed thousands of postcards to apartments that are locked, and we have hand delivered thousands of postcards to those that are unlocked. So that delivery is complete. And we've distributed our postcards to places throughout the community, including, as you had suggested, hospitals, grocery stores, and things like that. So we will continue to monitor the situation. I would say that I do not have a good reading on the situation. I would not say it is a tsunami at this point. And we will learn a lot more at I guess the next court date is tomorrow, and we'll be present for that. Utility support, we've basically exhausted our utility funds, and we're now using our angel donor funds. We have a healthy reserve there. But we'll also be fundraising for that support. Right now, we're really just supporting people with active shutoffs because there are other options for folks who are behind. Housing advocacy is going strong. We've successfully moved in 33% of those we helped apply, which is just phenomenal. So we've helped 204 participants representing 129 households apply for any available subsidized housing opportunity. We have a very strong partnership with the Housing Authority, where essentially we are screening for emergency housing vouchers. Our office has screened 117 people, and this is just in a 3-week time frame. We've made 31 referrals to this program. We represent 60% of all referrals to the program. So we've definitely played a strong role in helping those who are homeless and very high risk of homelessness access those limited vouchers. I'm very happy about how that program is going. Bridge to Home Rapid Rehousing, which is a partnership with the city of Urbana as our fiscal sponsor. We now have 4 households and 1 more referral actually that we brought in. So we're at 5. And we are currently seeing, again, a change in that grant that's going to help us expand our street outreach and emergency services. We've definitely seen a significant service reduction at CU at Home and have concerns about the long-term impacts in our community. As you look at it with your council hat on at services, we'd strongly encourage you to look at the dearth of emergency services that now exists for single individuals, men and women, and transgendered folks in our community, since CU at Home is probably at about a quarter to a third capacity, and is a dry shelter and will not support people who have recently moved to the community within the last 30 days. So we're seeing a lot of actively unsheltered individuals who are not served by CU at Home. Emergency housing, and I have brought all of these concerns to CU at Home, so I'm very clear and transparent about those concerns. Emergency housing, each month I report to you about move outs. We had one person move out 31 days after moving in. Everyone else has essentially remained. We are currently full. The progress this month is from last month. That should be deleted. I do want to talk about our digital inclusion campaign. I'm very proud of the work that our staff is doing to connect people to phones, internet, and computers. So we have held 2 events in our garden, and we're going to have 2 more events. We've signed up about 45 people for benefits. You may have seen those events on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We have helped 25 Urbana households sign up for the emergency broadband benefit, which provides $50 off their home internet service. It essentially makes their service free. So anyone who's receiving SNAP should strongly consider signing up for the emergency broadband benefit. And if you live in Urbana, you simply call our office, 384-4144, or come by when we are open, and we are happy to support you in accessing that. We are working closely with the U of I Community Data Clinic. We're now on our 3rd year of partnership with that group, and PCs for People, which is a new partnership. We helped through one event distribute 11 laptops and portable hotspots with free internet to those participants. And we work with the most vulnerable housed participants to receive those laptops. The rest, I think I've essentially covered in talking about our MOUs. I just want to do a few shout outs of thank yous to the Housing Authority's Youth Build Program, which has helped us now build 3 beds at Wood Street and Cunningham Township. The City of Urbana Landscape Recycling Center has been extremely generous in donating and distributing, delivering soil. Developmental Services Center now provides weekly support, watering, weeding, and helping maintain our garden beds. And their Urbana Public Arts program is just about to install a sunflower themed shade sail. Say that many times fast. That is going to provide shaded seating in the garden. We plan on having our Harvest Festival Saturday, October 23rd. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them about the supervisor's memo.
Mary Alice.
It's not a question, Danielle, it's just a request. It would be really helpful if in any time that you're reporting out numbers, and I'll just use one example here, emergency housing and total served to date, it would be good for us to delineate like between fiscal years, because right now I think unless it's a typo, it says July 2020, it doesn't say July 2021.
That's correct. Yeah, it's to date since the beginning, and that's a great request. I actually have a urban planning student who's doing his capstone with us this year, and he'll be with us for 2 semesters. He is building a data dashboard because frankly, our programs have gotten so big and there's so many data points we're collecting that this long narrative format, I don't think works very well. So we're trying to have a visual format that we can provide you that looks at since the program origin, this fiscal year to date, and this last month, so that you can actually see for every program what that looks like. It also gives us, it's our way of tracking our progress and point in time counts. We're not required to do this in any way, but we think it's really important for public accountability that we, and frankly, because we are now serving thousands of residents after serving 26 in 2016. So I think it's important that the public know what their township is doing and be able to see those numbers. And then we plan on linking that data dashboard off our website. So it will be updated in real time and anyone can look at it and see what our progress has been. So it's a great suggestion. It's definitely been on our minds, and we'll have a much cleaner format once Jack, our intern, is finished with that data dashboard in the next couple of months.
All right, yeah, that would be greatly appreciated to be able to see our progress throughout the different fiscal years and then the cumulative impact. So I'm glad to hear that you guys are gonna be developing a data dashboard. It'd probably be something in Tableau would be my guess.
He's actually doing it in Google spreadsheets, so that it's just because we work in Google spreadsheets. So every program director, like every case manager is required to update their numbers on a daily basis. And so we already track those numbers, and it also helps them to really feel their progress and see their progress and reflect on that. So that is just going to feed into this one data dashboard so that every day you'll see the numbers go up and you can see where we're at.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions about the general assistance report? Grace.
Thanks. Thanks for the report and the great work that you guys are doing. I think it's really great, the case management and auditing with the emergency rental assistance. And I was wondering where the hours of operation are on the township website, because I haven't been able to find them, and I've heard the same from others. So I didn't know if you could point out where they are / make them more clear.
I believe I'll take a look at the website. I don't want to be looking through the pages, but essentially, unless it was deleted during a recent revision, our programs, and then if you go to any assistance page on the assistance application, it says where our hours of operation are. So as you're filling it out, you also know when you can come to receive us. And as I said, it's been on the front of our building for a while. It's a big, I can send you a picture of it. It's a big sign on our big red door. And we sent a postcard out with our hours of operation. It is pretty standard that government agencies are open, during where the 8:30 to 4:30 is our hours of operation. And I'm not aware of anyone who has come to our office and not been able to access that service but I will definitely take a look at our website and make sure that it's clear. And honestly, if anyone has concerns, they really should just email me directly. It's supervisor@cunninghamtownship.org. If there's anything missing, it really is important that they address it immediately and directly with the supervisor, since I work full time and I can address that. So if something does come through, I would encourage you not to wait for the town board meeting, but to actually email me immediately so I can address the issue. Or please refer them to email me directly so that I can address the issue.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to reports of officers. Wayne.
Over here in the assessor's office, the deadline to appeal has passed, and we are now working on answering complaints. We didn't get as many complaints as we did last year, but that doesn't make the ones we got any less significant. And for the big ones, we are working with the city and the various taxpayers to resolve those complaints. I just want to say that I wasn't here last month, and I was very troubled by something I saw. Danielle and I are, unlike other units of government, the elected officers here at the township are full-time. And we work very hard in the exercise of our duties. So when we put a resolution out, we worked hard to do those resolutions in addition to our other duties. And it's one thing to point out a spelling error. We all make mistakes. But when you all make substantial changes to resolutions, those have a lot of unintended consequences. So when you all took out an employee from the resolution last month, that actually caused damage. Damage might be too strong of a word, but that caused a great inconvenience to Danielle and I, because the effect of what you did made it to where until we got all the other signatures on, Danielle and I were the only people authorized to sign checks, which means that if there was someone really in need and Danielle and I were not in the same place, we could not write a check to help that person. And I want to remind you all that this is not the city council. This is not the county board. Your powers as town board is very limited. It's pretty much limited to passing a budget, auditing the bills, passing a levy, approving contracts, setting the salaries of elected officials, and passing other various resolutions. But that's about it. You guys aren't even the corporate body of the township. That power resides in the electors at the annual town meeting. Another thing I want to say is that if you have a problem with one of our employees, I would expect you would address it with us or in closed session. But when you sit there as town board members, to bring up a problem you have with an employee in public session is very, very, very inappropriate. It's very inappropriate. It's one thing if you're up in public participation, you say whatever you want. But when you sit in that seat as a town board member, you have an obligation. You have certain obligations. And what I saw last month was not right. And I wanted to point that out. And specifically, James, I asked you for documents that you said you had twice, and you've not produced them. And I would just like to know why. Because it really inconvenienced us for a moment. And though that inconvenience was probably unintentional, it really made no sense to interrupt our operations the way you did. It made no sense. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Are we moving on to the quarterly financial report?
Yes, so I want to first, I believe I don't know if Nicole Philia is still with us. Yes, so Nicole is our accounting and operations manager, and if she could be promoted to be able to speak, I'd appreciate that. So essentially what we provided is a budget to actuals for from July 1st to present. And I think, essentially the overall picture of the township is healthy. We're spending at a little under 21% when we're 25% through the year. There is one area, so typically what I do, and you can do it how you wish, but I look at percentage of the budget. And I look for anything that is essentially over 25% of the budget. I dig in deeper to try to figure out why it may be over 25%. Sometimes it's administrative errors, as is the case with health insurance, which actually is at 25%, but because of a QuickBooks kind of automatic accounting issue, we have only paid out 25%, but it registers in QuickBooks as 62%. So we're working on getting that fixed. And then there was an issue of the clerk's salary that there was, we were doing checks and moving to direct deposit, and there were some delays in getting the clerk's salary. So some of that salary is from last fiscal year. So essentially, when you look at the budget, you can look at the pieces, see where we may be over 25%, and then drill into it. I will say, in terms of our income, things are very healthy. We have received private donations. In some cases with the UU fund, we're at 57% of what we budgeted. And with the angel donor funds, we're about, between PayPal and cash and checks, we're at about 70%. So that's really phenomenal. In other areas, miscellaneous income, et cetera, we're over for various reasons. With the overarching personnel, we're right on target with personnel at 25%. With our administration, we're at 13%. And with our programs, we are overall, we're at 20%. But we expect that there will be increases in program expenses with the lifting of the eviction moratorium. So essentially, overall, we feel our income is about close to 60%. Our expenses are at 20%, and we're about 25% through our budget. I'm happy to answer any questions. Before I do so, I just wanted to see if Nicole had anything she wanted to add to the report, and she's also here to answer questions. And I wanted you to get a chance to meet her since she is a new member of our leadership team.
Hi, all. Thanks for having me tonight. I really don't have anything to add except if anything is a little bit confusing, we did have a little bit of catch up over the last couple months as we had staff shortage. So I've been playing catch up since I got here. But to me, everything looks amazing, fantastic. I'm really happy with the donations that are coming in, and like Danielle said, we're pretty much right on schedule with the budget. But if you have any questions, let either one of us know, and I'm happy to answer any of that. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none. Fred, do we need a motion to approve this? I don't.
Was that a question to me?
Yes. Is there?
I didn't understand the question.
Is there a motion? Do we need a motion to approve the quarterly financial report?
I think approve it and place it on file is a normal procedure.
Okay. So we'll need a motion.
I'm sorry, accepting it and placing it on file.
We need a motion to accept and place and file the quarterly financial report. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve and place on file the quarterly financial reports.
Accept and place on file. Okay.
Accept and place on file.
All right. Is there a second? Grace.
Yeah, second.
All right. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Wu,
Yes.
Mr. Evans,
Yes.
Ms. Hersey,
Yes.
Ms. Colacetti,
Yes.
Ms. Bishop,
Yes.
Ms. Wilkin,
Yes.
Mr. Quisenberry.
Yes.
That motion passes. All right. That concludes reports of officers. I don't see any unfinished business. We have covered new business, and that brings us to adjournment. So with no further business before the town board, this meeting is adjourned, and we'll begin immediately with the Urbana City Council meeting when the clerk gives us the sign.